Okay, if we can, we'll go ahead and start tonight's meeting. Before we can get into the formal part of the meeting, we have a new member this evening. Matt Hall has joined this commission, and Matt, if you would, maybe tell a little bit about yourself so everybody can kind of get a little bit familiarized with you.
Sorry. I'm involved with several things with the young professionals through the chamber as well, so I'm excited to be here.
We appreciate it, and welcome to the commission, and feel at home, please. Okay, with that being said, we will go ahead and start the meeting. This is the September 8th, 2016 meeting of the Jefferson City Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Chris Jordan, and I am the chairman of the commission. I would like to remind all the commission members and people in the audience to please silence your cell phones and electronics and whatnot. We'll move on to introduction. We will start with our council liaison.
Good evening, commission members. Carlos Graham, City Council Liaison.
Matt Hall.
Mike Lester. Jack Deacon.
Dave Nunn.
Ann Strotman.
Bunny Tricky Cotton.
Blake Marcus.
Dean Dutoy.
Chris Yarnell.
And Eric Barron, city staff.
I will remind staff and commissioners, like if they would, to turn on their microphones as they do speak during any of the agenda items tonight. The procedural matters, the city code authorizes 9 regular members and 3 alternates. Alternates are designated to vote upon absence or disqualification of a regular member. A quorum of 5 members or alternate is necessary to conduct business. I do declare that we do have a quorum tonight. We have the regular members voting tonight would be Bonnie Tricky Cotton, Jack Deacon, Dean Dutoy, Michael Lester, David Nunn, and Chris Yarnell. We also have the 2 alternates, Blake Marcus and Matthew Hall. Is there anyone on the commission tonight that will be disqualifying themselves on any agenda item? Seeing none, all of those folks that I've read off tonight that are here will be voting on the agenda items. Next, we will have a call for cases to make sure there's someone here to represent those cases. If you would, just please raise your hand so we know there is someone here to represent those cases. Case number P16011, property in the 1100 block of Oak Street. It is a rezoning from RS4 to CO and a comprehensive plan amendment. Is there someone here to speak on behalf? Thank you. Case number P16012, 615 East Capitol Avenue. It's a rezoning from RA2 to CO. Is there someone here? Thank you. I do not believe we have had any requests for continuances.
That is correct.
Okay. Is there any reason to reorder the agenda? None. Okay. Eric, if you would, please read the format of the hearing and order of testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to briefly describe the procedures of the Planning Commission. The proceedings of the meeting are being recorded, so I ask that when you speak, please step to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. After a brief introduction of a case by city staff, the applicant and applicant's consultants and advisors will come forward to explain the project. And the opening presentation by the applicant shall be limited to 10 minutes. We will then ask to hear from any supporters of the request. We will then ask to hear from any opponents of the request. We will then ask to hear from anyone else who wishes to speak on the request. And the testimony from supporters, opponents, or other interested parties shall be limited to 3 minutes each. City staff will then describe the proposal and make their recommendations on the request. In order to reduce the time necessary to hear an application, reference to printed material including staff reports, applicable findings, ordinances, and/or statutes shall not be read into the record unless directed by the Planning Commission. And the recommendations by staff, if any, on the matter before the Commission shall be presented to the Commission before the Commission acts on the matter. The Commission will close testimony from the floor prior to motion or discussion on the case. And the Commission will then discuss the proposal and publicly make its determination with reasons. And the form of the motion shall be positive. That is, the motion shall be made to accept the request as it's presented, or with modifications, stipulations, or conditions. And a final vote taken, ayes in favor, nays opposed. The chairman shall announce the results of the vote. The following documents are entered as exhibits for all items under consideration at this meeting. The city code as amended, the comprehensive plan and land use map, copies of applications under consideration, a list of property owners to whom notices were sent, the affidavit of publication of public notice in the newspaper, copies of drawings, plans, and or renderings under consideration, letters or memoranda from staff, the staff reports, minutes of proceedings, and letters, photos, memoranda, or other materials submitted by the public or the applicant, and the rules of procedure for the Jefferson City, Missouri Planning and Zoning Commission. These items are all public record and available for inspection in the Department of Planning and Protective Services or through the Office of the City Clerk. And please be advised that any items that are presented to the Planning Commission this evening become property of the Commission. This includes any photographs, drawings, renderings, petitions, and letters. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. There was no need for a reordering of the agenda, so if I could, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We have two minutes to approve, and I think we probably ought to do them separately. We have the minutes from our regular meeting of August 11th, and then we also have the special meeting of August 25th. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the regular minutes of the August 11th, 2016 meeting.
Move to approve the August 25th minutes as presented.
Let's go to August 11th. Do the August 11th.
All right, sorry. Move to approve August 11th minutes as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Bonnie, would you like to do the next one?
To approve August 25th minutes as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Eric, you mentioned there is no communications. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have not received communication on any of the items on the agenda today.
All right. That being said, we will move on to new business. Our first case this evening is case number P16011, the property in the 1100 block of Oak Street. It is a rezoning from RS4 to CO and a comprehensive plan amendment. Eric, would you fill us in a little bit about this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is property that's owned by Capital Regional Medical Center, property that they've acquired over time. Used to have a number of houses located on it which have been demolished. To orient you to the location of the property, up on the screen is a location map showing the area. Toward the, you'll see Madison Street coming through, kind of to the left-hand corner of the property. Capital Region Medical Center, their hospital is located there in the center. You'll see Monroe Street, which is on kind of the back side of the hospital. They have a number of parking lots that serve the hospital off of Monroe Street. And the property highlighted here is adjacent to one of those parking lots located with frontage on Oak Street. And the property, this is a zoning map of the area. The property is zoned an RS4, a single-family residential zoning district, which was befitting of its prior single-family use. You'll see that the hospital proper is zoned a C2, which is a general commercial zoning district suitable for a major hospital facility. The parking lot that is adjacent to this property is zoned a CO, an office commercial zoning district, which is suitable for use of the property as parking to support the hospital, essentially off-site parking lot because it's located on the opposite side of the street as the hospital. There's other parking lots serving the hospital in the area that still retain a residential zoning and received conditional use permits through the Board of Adjustment for, again, for off-site parking to support a commercial use. Their proposal this evening is to rezone this property to a CO, an office commercial use, their primary purpose, or at least initial purpose, is certainly parking to serve the hospital. They've undergone a major expansion in just the last year, and plan to construct parking to support the building. But it would allow for future commercial buildings to be constructed on their property as well. So one of the reasons they would be seeking a CO, a commercial zoning, is to match the existing commercial zoning that's on Monroe Street and allow for the entire block to have a unified zoning. This is a 2015 air photo. I like to include the air photos just because they give you the clear view of the property without the color associated with the zoning map. And so as you can see, there were a number of houses along that block. They have all been demolished. They were demolished in accordance with demolition permits for the purpose of clearing the property. So this is a 2015 air photo. The demolition work occurred, I think it was about 6 months ago. And so this is a current view of the property taken from the corner from Oak and Union Street, located right there toward the bottom of the screen. Is vacant property. There is a retaining wall that holds up the parking to the west of this row. Associated with the request is also a comprehensive plan amendment to redesignate the property from its current low-density residential, or I think a medium-density residential, essentially a residential category, to a public, semi-public category. The bulk of the hospital facility is actually identified within the comprehensive plan as being intended for a public, semi-public type of use. Again, befitting a regional hospital serving the community. And so basically the comprehensive plan amendment would tack on this property to their hospital campus from the perspective of the comprehensive plan. With that, I'd be happy to answer any initial questions. Both the applicant and their consultant are here to give any more detail.
Thank you, Eric. Do any of the commissioners have any question for Eric at this time? Seeing none, we will move on. Is there someone here who would like to present this case? If so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Martin Grabansky. I'm Director of Facilities for Capital Region Medical Center, located at 1125 Madison Street. Thank you for the opportunity this evening. Capital Region Medical Center has a strong commitment to the city and the individuals here in Jefferson City. With the medical center expansion that Eric talked about, we've invested quite a bit on the south side, north side of our campus. We look to continue to do that and improve this area and the community we serve. Capital Region was instrumental in the H3 program, comprehensive look at the communities in downtown Jefferson City and ideas on how to improve the communities around the hospital and downtown. This is part of our plan to continue to expand and grow and improve this area on the south side of town. So we very much appreciate your consideration, and if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
Yes. Do you know what the intent longer term for that property is?
Long term, right now, as Eric said, it's most likely parking, but we also want to keep this property in our long-term plans for possible support services or medical office building.
The reason I ask is I know I've been to a number of the neighborhood planning meetings that you've had, and at a number of those, neighborhood residents expressed clearly that they prefer not to have more parking lots built. So I can appreciate that. We have, in many ways, if this area, and you saw some of the older houses that were on that property, they were in disarray, and they were
really eyesores. So our objective, number one, was to let's clean it up and look for the opportunity for expansion. I can't tell you right now today that it will be a medical office building, but we have long-term plans that it could easily be a medical office building or a support service building for the campus.
Okay, I just want you to recognize that parking lots don't look too good either.
No, you know, we try really hard to make what we do look good. I think if we had some close-ups of those properties that were demolished compared to what we have there right now, it's a big improvement than what was there. We actually are continuing to look at some of the other properties in the area. Our goal, we very much want to improve the south side and the communities we're serving in that area. So we're looking for opportunities to work with our neighbors. The H3 program, we very much want it to be an open book. We got a lot of ideas and a lot of good suggestions from the community in that process. So no, we're very committed, and we're very conscious of our neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission members for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience this evening that would like to speak in favor of this?
Mr. Chairman, Mike Bates, Central Missouri Professional Services, 2500 East McCarty Street. The history of the hospital, and when it was started in the 50s, I think 1953 as Still Hospital, is really interesting, and healthcare is probably the largest or the fastest growing industry in our community. And we look at the good fortune we've had with the most recent expansion of Cap Region with 120,000 square feet, I think, of the medical office building, St. Mary's with the new hospital, and of course JCMG with a major campus. So we think we've been very fortunate in that regard. As people have developed JCMG and St. Mary's, because they were in a situation where they were essentially landlocked by streets and highways, they had to make a determination to move a little farther out in the community, and certainly the community will grow towards them. But Cap Region made a commitment to stay in the core of the community. We think that's very important, and as land uses transition, there's always some concern there. And this past year, as Martin indicated in one of the visuals that we provided you, you'll see a cover sheet from the planning study that's been initiated by the hospital. H3 Studio, a planning architectural group from St. Louis, is conducting a study of the entire neighborhood. This is a study, and I think many of you have attended, and I think all were invited in the discovery phase. The boundary's a bit irregular, but to the north is, of course, is the expressway, to the east is Lafayette Street, and then to the west, southwest, and of course Stadium Boulevard on the south. But they're really focused on staying in the core of the community and being a part of the community. I thought it was really appropriate. Mr. Lester made some comments. When much of the development occurred, there wasn't much rule and regulation in regard to developing parking. Now with the codes that we have to live by, we've got lighting standards, we've got landscaping standards, we've got tougher stormwater quality ordinances, and by and large, we think what's constructed will blend in well with the community. The changes that you've seen in this neighborhood, to include with the medical office building expansion and the closure of Woodlawn Street, have had, we think, will have a long-term great benefit to this neighborhood. So I would emphasize that when much of the property was developed, and of course we saw that with the MOB, that we were regulated by today's standards, but not by yesterday's standards. So it's an evolving process, and we think it's a significant contribution to the community. As a matter of fact, as H3 Studios works with the hospital and the community to finalize this plan, it's their hope and that will be brought back to the Planning and Zoning Commission and ultimately the Council to adopt as a formal neighborhood plan for the community. So it's an exciting time, it's a transition time, and change is always difficult, but we think these are small incremental steps to improve the community. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Do any of the commission members have any questions for Mr. Bates at this time?
I guess I'd ask, so in this process, if that's made a parking lot, will anything be done to make the other part of the parking lots look better?
Yes, and I probably should have given that more emphasis, but today's code requires very specific landscaping, buffering, and lighting standards that developers didn't have to live by before. So that would be a part of the design process and is actually required by the code that the city has now.
And would that take in also the existing parking lots adjacent to that?
I honestly couldn't. That I would have to ask Martin to speak to, because all I'm working on is this part of the project right now. I guess I would give you a general answer that as the hospital continues this development, everything they do falls under the new code now, so we will be required to meet today's standards.
I might be able to add to that just a little. I believe, just at a glance, that their existing parking lot located here, that this is adjacent to, looks like it likely meets the landscaping portion of the code, in that, you know, there appear to be a number of trees in the area. Mike, I don't recall how many of these trees along Monroe Street were able to be retained after much of the work on Monroe Street, if they're still there or not. That was one of my main concerns, but you know, utilities certainly have unfortunately have to be located in a certain spot along a street corridor often, and I believe there were some trees in that way, but regardless, it appears that with the landscaping medians that are in there, that they meet the landscaping code.
Right. The improvements, and it's good news and bad news, the aerial photography we have behind the zoning map showing the ownership boundaries of what the hospital has now are dated photography that does not show the expansion to the north with the MOB, the closure of Woodlawn, or the improvements to Monroe Street and the signalized intersection. So the hospital and the city and the county have been good partners in that the hospital actually contributed right-of-way and other incentives to cooperate with the city and the county to accomplish the project. And I'll refer, you mentioned some of the existing lots. The MOB sure looks a lot better than the old sections of the original hospital, and I would tell you a part of the H3 studio study is to improve and enhance the aesthetics of this, and landscaping is a big part of it. As a matter of fact, Martin came to us a few years ago from St. Louis, and I will use the word appalled, but the facilities he was used to working with invested a lot more in appearance, and landscaping was the primary one.
Yes, I think on the new side of the hospital compared to this side, I mean, it looks a lot better, and I think the hospital would do well to improve the appearance on this other side of the hospital.
Your point is well taken.
Is there any other commission members that have any questions for Mr. Bates at this time? Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor on this request? If so, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this request? If so, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this request? Please come forward. Seeing none. We'll now close testimony. Eric, if you will give your staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, located in the staff report is our standard checklist for staff analysis for a rezoning. Pardon me. The staff report recommendations do come in two parts, one for the comprehensive plan amendment and one for the rezoning. As far as the comprehensive plan amendment is concerned, the staff position is that the Capital Regional Medical Center campus is of regional importance, serving the needs of not only the residents of Jefferson City, but also the surrounding region. The comprehensive plan recognizes the importance of this facility by designating it as sort of a node of that public, semi-public use, almost in the center of the city, on the development plan map that's contained within the comprehensive plan. Expansion of that node to support the needs of the hospital is appropriate. So staff recommendation is for approval of the comprehensive plan amendment. And then as far as the rezoning, the area is largely defined by the existence of the hospital, and they've worked to acquire multiple properties in order to fill out an entire block, or at least that half of the block, before coming forward with this request. And so, certainly expansion of the existing CO zoning in the area to support their needs is appropriate. So staff recommendation is for approval of the rezoning request as well. The recommended form of the motion is in two parts, located at the bottom of the staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Eric. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Eric at this point? Seeing none. I believe, as Eric mentioned, we would like to do this in two forms of motion. The first one would be the comprehensive plan amendment, and the second one would be the rezoning. Would someone like to make those motions?
I would move to approve the comprehensive plan amendment request to show the property as public and semi-public on the development plan map of the comprehensive plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
You ready for the next one?
We're ready.
I would move to approve the request to rezone the property from RS4 to CO.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the rezoning. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Eric, this will be forwarded to the City Council, correct?
That is correct. This request will be forwarded to the City Council with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation for approval. There will be a public hearing in front of the City Council on the request. That date will be October 17th, and their meetings start at 6 p.m. in this room.
And once again, that is a public hearing, so if there's anybody watching tonight that would like to speak or discuss that, they can go to the City Council meeting, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Thank you. We will move on to our last case this evening. It is case number P16012, 615 East Capitol Avenue. It is a rezoning from RA2 to C-O. Eric, if you would, tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, to orient you to the location of this request, up on the screen is a location map with the property highlighted there in the center of the screen. It is located on Capitol Avenue, just about a half block away from the prison wall, the Missouri State Penitentiary historic prison wall. And so some of the major streets, Lafayette Street is right here, sort of refer to it as a north-south street, going all the way to the federal courthouse, the new federal courthouse, although it's been there for several years now, located there at the top of the screen. So this property is located mid-block between Lafayette Street and Marshall Street on Capitol Avenue. The zoning of the property is currently an RA2, a multifamily residential zoning district, along with much of Capitol Avenue, which is also zoned that RA2 category. You'll notice that the property just next door, located, it's a group of 3 buildings, but they're all located on one property, kind of built in combination, located there on the corner of Lafayette and Capitol. And that property is zoned to C1, a neighborhood commercial zoning district. So this property is just adjacent to a commercial zoning district. Capitol Avenue, of course, is a street that is located within the Central East Side neighborhood, and we have a Central East Side neighborhood plan that's been adopted by this commission, recognizing that the direction in terms of land use for this street is more of a mixed-use character. There are a number of offices located on East Capitol Avenue, even though the property is zoned in RA2, that multifamily residential district. The history behind that is that the zoning code used to allow for office uses with a conditional use permit in the multifamily district. When the zoning code was updated in 2002, that was removed, and so a conditional use permit for an office is no longer an option, while all the other buildings that receive those permits can continue to be used as an office indefinitely. Of course, planning division city staff's plan is to rezone Capitol Avenue to a mixed-use district. The final form of that district has not been finalized. We have various drafts that are, some of which have been presented to you in a preliminary manner, and also contained on our website for review in public by the comment. But we're not quite to the point of actually presenting it for adoption yet. Still have some coordination with interested parties that needs to occur, and a few revisions that need to be made based on public comments that have been received. So in light of that, that we as staff are not yet ready to proceed with a rezoning to a mixed-use district along Capitol Avenue that would allow for both residential and commercial uses. This property owner feels that they would like to move forward with their plans for this particular property today, rather than waiting the months that might have to be waited until staff are in a position to present the rezoning plan for the area. Their plans include utilization of the main floor of the building as an office. They do not have a tenant. They do not have a tenant yet, but they would like to market the building for that use. And then use of the second floor of the building as a residence. And in order to accomplish that, the only tool that we have available today is a rezoning of the property. And so they're requesting a rezoning to a commercial district in order to allow that. The commercial district, CO district, is the lowest level of district that would allow them to do that, to use the building as an office. And then all four of the commercial districts, including the CO district, allow for residential uses on the second floor or above. So it would accommodate their plans. Here's a 2015 air photo of the property. It does lend itself well to use commercially because it does have a paved parking lot in the rear of the property with access off of the alley. And I have a couple pictures of the building. They've put a lot of work into rehabilitating the building, and so this is it, looking sort of from the west. And then here from the east, and so you can see the neighboring commercially zoned property there in the background. And so that property is currently in use as largely as it's been recently, one of the buildings within has recently been converted into Avenue HQ, kind of an entertainment venue, hosting comedians, and then also available for rent for gatherings and sorts, wedding receptions and such. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Again, staff's plan is to rezone the entirety of Capitol Avenue to a mixed-use zoning district, in the near future. I don't have an exact time frame for that, but the reason for this request is that they would like to proceed with their plans today rather than wait.
Thank you, Eric. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Eric at this point?
You kind of covered, Eric, what I was going to ask you, but is that kind of what you see for west of this would be the rezoning that you were talking about, so that we don't have just this section zone CO, it would blend in with what's planned?
Yes. So the main difference on Capitol Avenue is this C1 zoned property. it's kind of the one that does not match with the rest of the block. The building style is different. It's kind of located in a different spot. So we're actually proposing a different zoning for that corner, basically to line up with the existing zoning line. So, the plan may change from what we have presented to the public and what we have on our website today for public comment. But the plan is to rezone the entirety of Capitol Avenue, so everything, certainly to the west of the C1 property, including this property, and everything on the south side of Capitol Avenue to a lower level of a mixed-use district, and then a higher level of a mixed-use district for this corner, as well as the corner heading up to the courthouse, and then using that district along High Street as well.
Any other commission members have any questions for Eric at this point? Seeing none. Is there someone here that would like to present this case? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
John Pervanich, 1413 Inglenook Drive. We think Eric represented our case very well, and we'd like to thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, John. Do any of the commission members have any questions for John at this point? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this request? Please come forward. Seeing none. At this point, I will close testimony. Eric, if you will give your staff report.
Just very briefly, the CO zoning of this property would match up with the recommendations of the Central East Side Neighborhood Plan, and so as an office type of use, we believe the future mixed-use district would match up better, but it is a rezoning that is supported by the comprehensive plan in the form of that Central East Side Neighborhood Plan. And the staff recommendation is for approval of the request to rezone the property.
Thank you, Eric. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Eric at this point? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion to approve the request to rezone the property from RA2 to CO.
Move to approve the request to rezone the property from RA2 to CO.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Once again, Eric, this will be forwarded to the City Council, and will that be on the same date as the case before us?
That is correct. This will be forwarded to the City Council with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation for approval. Be a public hearing on the matter before the City Council. That hearing will take place on October 17th, and the meeting starts at 6 p.m. in this room.
All right, very good. Thank you all for coming this evening. We will move on to other business. I believe Eric and Miss Ann have provided us a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting schedule for 2017. Believe it or not, it's going to be here. We need a motion on that and approval, or how do we need to do that, Eric?
Yeah, motion and second for approval. It looks like all the dates fall on the second Thursday of the month. We didn't have to rearrange anything for weddings or
vacations, babies, or anything like that.
Yeah, I actually have a few dates that need to be moved around on the Board of Adjustment schedule, but that does not concern you.
Okay. Well, that's great. With that, if we have no discussion on it, I will entertain a motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Any other business or anything we need to discuss tonight?
No.
I declare us adjourned.
Okay, good deal. Thank you for showing up. We do have at least one case filed for next month, so we will have a meeting. It should be a pretty good case. And once we get all the details figured out, we'll post it online and then send you a packet about a week after that.
Great.
So,
Thursday Night Live tonight, is that correct? There we go.
Yes, Thursday Night Live Soup Stock. Very, very exciting. One of my favorites.
Very good.
Not sure if I'll be able to attend, though.